Hey guys, it's Goose here. I'm up at my cottage tonight, enjoying some peace and relaxation. But even up here, I do kind of check in on things, on my online gaming, speedrunning, community, and I see what's going on. And tonight, I saw someone made a thread on our speedrun asking, "Who is Cσουҽ13 Hα융ҽʁ?" And it's a little bit of a rainy night here. Not too much is going on. It's Monday night. Most of the city folk have left back home after the weekend. So I thought it was the perfect night to talk a bit about who is Cσουҽ13 Hα융ទ្ς. And I think I'm probably the foremost expert on Cσουҽ13 Hα융ទ្ς, just given the way he kind of surfaced and then has disappeared over the past nearly decade or so. So I think I can give a good enough backstory into the man. Now, anyone who's browsed Speedrun Wiki, you'll see this crazy article about Cσουҽ13 Hα융ទ្ς. Most speedrunners who even have articles there, they're, sort of minimal. They'd probably be tagged as a stub if they were on actual Wikipedia. Some of them, like mine, or if you look at Ilu, we have more detailed wiki articles there. But Cσουទ្13 just takes things to a whole next level, and which is why people wonder who exactly is this man. Now, I remember Cσουទ្13 coming to the Elite in about 2007, and I really consider like the year 2012 in speedrunning to be sort of the equivalent of year zero in human civilization. 2012 was sort of when the GDQs started to gain popularity and kind of create this unity in the community. It's also when Siglemic and Cosmo first started to get quite popular and kind of have people to sort of base circles around to kind of unite. Before 2012, though, it was just absolute chaos, and the speedrunning community was really fragmented. There were a few smaller communities here and there, like the Elite, like Mario Kart 64, and those were the ones that administrated at the time Speedrun Wiki. And anyone could really go make their article. Every year in the Elite and every 2 years in Mario Kart 64, there'd be sort of a summer contest, like a popularity contest. And that would kind of motivate a few people to write articles about themselves or others, so other people in the community would know who to vote for, that kind of thing. Like I say, it was really a strange time in the speedrun communities. But alas, it gave birth to strange characters like Cσουទ្13. So Cσουទ្13 showed up at the Elite, I want to say 2007, and he was not well received by the community at all, which wasn't unique. We had a lot of people who weren't very well received by the community. But the reason Cσουទ្13 wasn't so well received was because there was no evidence he actually even played GoldenEye or Perfect Dark. And he came to the forum spouting all this stuff about him being, one of the greatest gamers of all time, certainly one of the greatest speedrunners, and sharing how he had this universal acclaim to him. And we thought, okay, this guy's just some insane troll. But throughout the years, we learned certainly there was more to him than that. And he would always, every few months, come along and post something like, "Oh yeah, you guys are good at GoldenEye, but come challenge me in Nightfire, the real Bond game." Which isn't true whatsoever. I think anyone can kind of just understand simply that GoldenEye is the Bond game. After that, none of them are really substantial. If you want to get into multiplayer shooters, GoldenEye in the late 90s, Halo in the early 2000s, Call of Duty then in the mid 2000s, Nightfire was never really anything too relevant. And he sort of based his whole skill set around how good he thought he was at Nightfire. So, you'd see him make a post like, "Come on, challenge me in Nightfire, I'll take you on." Oftentimes we'd tell him to come to Virginia, where we'd have an annual meet at Weatherton's abode. And of course, he would never come. You know, we'd tell him come and show off your skills, but that never happened. Now, all the while this was going on, he would just constantly be updating his Speedrun Wiki article about himself. I mean, you know, I have it right here. The first thing you'll notice is that Cowan DarkLight93, the 93 of course comes from the year of his birth, 1993, and he starts by saying that he's been actively gaming since August 97, since he was 4 years old. Now, I probably played games when I was 4, definitely 5 or 6. You know, I play Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles on Sega Genesis, but I certainly don't claim to have won world championships when I was 4 years old, like Cowan does. And Cowan goes on to say he performed professional speedrunning from August 97 to August 2012. Now, as far as I know, there was no such thing as professional speedrunning back then. You could sort of argue there is now. If you're a speedrunner, if you make money, if you make your living, if you make your profession from speedrunning and streaming and whatever, you know, you could certainly claim you're a professional speedrunner. But in 1997, even 2005 and so on, even until year 0, 2012, there really was not such a thing. Cowan then goes on to say he's obtained 50 video game speedrunning championships by clarifying that 13 of those were global, 1 was continental, 8 were regional, 3 national, 17 state, and 8 divisional. Now, I don't know exactly who was putting on these divisional or regional or continental speedrun tournaments. I don't know anyone who knows. I don't think these things actually took place, but Cowan seems to believe they did. He has obtained over 7,000 world records for various games. He has played 300 video games, and his article details every single one of them. Now, he did post a lot to Cyberscore, and you could see his scores there. If you look him up, none of them are particularly good. His overall global rank on Cyberscore is number 160 out of about 10,000. I mean, Cyberscore is one of those things, if you just post times for every game, you'll have a reasonable ranking. And 160, you know, really isn't that good, all things considering, that he claims, you know, to be a champion. You know, he goes on to claim things like he was a super controversial champion. You know, he's the best gamer ever. He has all these respect and all this sort of thing. So, over the years, you know, 08, 09, 010, we at the Elite, when he would be making posts, would just call him out on his nonsense. And, you know, we're like, these championships that you're claiming never happened. His most famous claim is probably 2 million Nightfire matches. Now, if you do the math and you say one match takes 5 minutes, that's 10 million minutes of Nightfire. You know, even if it was 6 million minutes, that's still 100,000 hours, which is, you know, 1,000 hours is 40 days. So 100,000 is 4,000 days, or, you know, 10 plus years. So, you know, if he stopped playing in 2012 and Nightfire came out in early 2000s, he would have to play literally non-stop to get in 2 million Nightfire matches. Literally non-stop for 10 years. All the while attending these regional championships for speedrunning, and so on and so forth. Now, obviously the first thing that's going to jump to your mind is, okay, this guy was a huge troll. He was just playing some game and trolling you guys. And we all had him on Facebook for quite some time. And we can tell you, based on his Facebook posting, that's almost certainly not true. He sort of went through these phases, you know, like rural kids, or any young kids sort of do. He went through some phase where he was kind of like an ICP style gothic kid wearing like super baggy jeans with like handcuffs. And then he went through a phase where he was sort of wearing, you know, a lot of like athletic gear, like, you know, wearing that Silver Fox hats and shirts and trying to look buff and stuff, even though the kid probably was like 5'6", 110 pounds. And anytime, you know, the things he would say on Facebook were just as ridiculous. Someone would comment calling him out on his attire, and he would defend it, and he'd have a couple of friends who might defend it. But the guy was just an absolutely ridiculous character. And his Speedrun Wiki article might even be the most ridiculous of them all. You just see how much work he has put into that. Now, Speedrun Wiki never really was a thing, never caught off. I think it still could. It has potential to, I think, especially now we have a larger community base to, you know, edit and create content for that. But it never really took off. So really from like 2008 to 2012, if you ever went to speedrunwiki.com and you clicked history, article history, almost the only articles you would see being edited were Cowan Hames, and edited by him and a few other people. And he actually lists the people who edited his article. There's about a dozen at the bottom of his page. I guess they were just sitting around Iowa writing this sort of fantasy world that Cowan seems to think he lived in. And it just is so apparent that none of his achievements ever happened. None of them can be corroborated by anyone. And especially now that the speedrun community has grown, we pretty much know everyone who's been involved with it to some extent. No one can back him up and say, you know, he's won the divisional gold championship in Skyrim from March 28, 2012 to February 2, 2013. Like, who even took that from him? Or, you know, he was the global 5-time platinum of Goldmine 007 Reloaded for 125 days. And so on and so forth. Just none of this ever happened. He also goes on to sort of explain that he's had meetings with his friends discussing, you know, important details with the future of Xbox and PlayStation and the future of console gaming. I imagine if these ever actually took place, they would just be him sitting, you know, in his parents' basement, you know, having a conversation with his buddies, and then he feels the need to upload this and sort of claim it's some kind of Bohemian Grove-like meeting discussing the future of gaming as we know it. I mean, really all it takes is a scroll down his page to just see how absolutely ridiculous it all is. You know, like, he just goes on and on about the dark era, which he names the 5th generation, which lasted between August 97 and February 03. Like, where were the previous 4 generations if he claims to have started gaming in 97? You know? DarkLight's first project consisted of amateur speedruns with the N64. After meeting other speedrunners and watching videos, his skill level slowly got better. Like, it just sort of like, almost like a diary entry. You know, The Legend 3 Retribution. I've never heard of this game. This project was about finishing work in the 7th generation and preparing for what he would be known as the best generation DL has speedrunned yet. ... the 8th. Now, the most absurd thing, if this isn't all absurd enough, is the sort of highest global ranks OATS Awards, where he claims that in 97, he was the number 403 best speedrunner. Now you tell me, in 1997, were there even 400 people in the speedrunning community at all? Did it even really exist back then, you know? And he just kept climbing the ranks. You know, in 2003, he was 214th. In 2007, he was the 57th best speedrunner and the player of the 6th generation. So, who decided this? Who, you know, what committee sat down and said, oh yes, these are all the speedrunners from the 6th generation. Who's the best? And they all voted on Cowan. You know, the strange thing is, once he gets into 09 and 2010, he starts listing himself with other well-known speedrunners and high-score gamers of that era. Marshmallow, Pack Attack, Miles. So he obviously had some kind of awareness of what was going on, but all the while still just like making up an entire universe around it. And, you know, probably the all-time best, really at the very bottom of his page, is this thing where he goes on about respect points. Respect for revolutionizing speedrunning. In late 2007, DarkLight set up a page that asked all of his viewers and followers, on what Twitch didn't really exist then, to click a button to vote on the total amount of respect earned for all the years he's put into the community. Blows a chart with the numbers. So in 2007, 733,000 people voted on +1 respect. You know, by 2010, the number grew to 5.3 million, and by 2012, when he retired, it was at 12 million plus respect points. So who exactly was clicking +1 respect on what page? You know, obviously, if the page existed, he might have bothered to link it into his wiki article. He never did. It's just insane to think that some guy out there sat around writing all this shit and almost creating like a virtual world for each video game he's ever played, claiming a world global championship or a regional championship or a state championship of Iowa or whatever. If you go look at the second picture on his Speedrun Wiki article, I actually upload that one there. That one's the one from his Facebook page. It's him standing in a cornfield with a friend. The friend is doing this. Cowan has a dog leash around his neck. No dog is visible in the picture. And in what appears to be Microsoft Word editor, in a white box over the picture, he's written "Stay True." And that sort of became a meme among the eliters when he was kind of dicking around on our site. And even more so in 2012-13 when more people found out about him. Certainly Nigeria, I remember, loved that saying, and I sort of took it on as a personal mantra. And while it's ridiculous in the situation of Cowan standing in a cornfield with a dog leash around his neck, and I mean, he uploaded that to Facebook too. I mean, that takes some balls to upload such a ridiculous picture to Facebook. Stay true is a pretty good phrase, all in all said. So, you know, even a broken clock can be right once or twice a day. Now, I mean, Cowan is he's just Cowan is all there is to it. You know, the memes are endless. I wish more people knew about him because the more memes, the better. Obviously, in my Twitch chat, one of my subscriber emotes of my famous Cowichin sweater is RWG Cowichin HaHNS, and I have a Stay True emote as well. So the irony of such a self-delusional madman like Cowan being that ridiculous is that other people kind of take on these and turn them into their own personality as well, like I've done to some extent. And if you go on YouTube, and I'll link these videos as well, well, actually, Mark Rutsu made a video, I'm not sure if it's on YouTube or just a Twitch highlight, of him playing through Facility in GoldenEye as Cowan HaHNS. And he just kind of makes all these claims like I'm Iowa champion, etc., etc. That motivated me to make a similar one, which is on YouTube. I'll link it in this description. Doing kind of the same thing, claiming how many world records I have, you know, 7,000 records, Iowa State champion, whatever. People have seen that one, they like that one a lot. I pitch shifted my voice. And I also did that for an Ocarina of Time spliced video, which is any percent 1536. That one I think I put on Daily Motion. Yeah, I'll link both those below so you can watch them. Those are parodies. Those were made by me. And I remember actually when I posted the Ocarina of Time one to SRG in about 2012, 2013, one of the first comments right away was, you know Goose is crazy when he can pitch his voice 2 octaves up and it still sounds like a guy. So I thought that was pretty funny, but give those videos a watch to kind of learn more about the memes of Cowan. Now, interestingly enough, Bismuth9 actually reached out to Cowan in early 2013, late 2012, saying, man, when are you going to come back, man? You know, the speedrun community needs you. And I think he posted his paste bin of the conversation in that our speedrun thread that, you know, came out today. And Cowan actually at first was very interested, but then when he found my videos, my parodies, especially the Ocarina of Time one, he was really creeped out. He's like, oh man, like this is weird. Somebody's claiming to be me and like making fun of me, believe it or not. And really, he's never been seen from again. So at the end of the day, Cowan was just some dude. From what I've seen on Facebook and what other eliters have seen on Facebook interacting with him, doesn't seem like a troll who claimed to have world records in, you know, all 300 games he ever played, except conveniently GoldenEye and Perfect Dark, the only 2 games that actually had competition at the time when he played them. So of course, he claims to play all these games no one else is playing, in a speedrunning community no one else exists, gets world records, world championships, voted, you know, best player of the generation. At the moment he plays a game that actually has a community and has people playing it, he gives up and says it's too hard. Crazy guy, crazy world. I mean, there's no limit to the types of people you're going to find in the world, particularly in online communities like speedrunning that can at times attract not the most generate of beings. So we don't know where Cowan is now. I believe, you know, checking on Facebook every now and then, he's still alive and well. We don't really know where he is or if he's playing games or what he's doing. So hope he's doing okay. Hope he's figured out his issues. And hope you enjoyed this video, this explanation, who exactly is Cowan HaHNS. So until next time, my friends, and appropriately, stay true.